All right, let's talk about Amazon Web Services. Now, they are dominating the market. They have slightly more than 30% of the cloud computing market. Now, that might not sound like very much, but the next three players in the market, which is Microsoft, IBM, and Google, combined, they don't even match what Amazon has. So they only come up to 22% of the market. So Microsoft, IBM, and Google, those are some pretty darn big names, and they run some pretty big clouds. But Amazon really caught them off guard and got ahead of them in this space. Now, the next 20 vendors make up 27% of the market. So a ton of competition in the cloud computing space. It's very competitive and evolving very quickly. And what I like about that is we're seeing a lot of innovation from these companies, a lot of really cool stuff coming out from these companies. But for us as developers and potentially business owners and enterprises, it is definitely keeping costs down. I've been an AWS customer for quite some time now, and I've consistently seen the cost of the services that I get from Amazon every year, every 6 months. I'm seeing price decreases. So it's a very competitive space, and the value of what you're getting for your money is going up. So, for example, if you go to springframework.guru, my website is running on an Amazon instance. So my domain name is managed by Route 53, and I am running an EC2 server. It is a Linux AMI that is running on EC2, and that's where my website is hosted. So, and I do have other services up there. So Amazon is definitely my playground when I'm doing development work. So a little bit about the history of AWS. The concept goes back to around 2000. So Amazon started creating infrastructure services for their internal teams. What was happening was they were looking at developing and creating these projects, and they're expecting it to be a short project, but they'd get 2 or 3 months into the project and realize all they had done is created some database servers and got the infrastructure in place. They really hadn't started doing the actual development. So they kind of split out these infrastructure services to accelerate their own internal development. And of course, Amazon, to survive Black Friday and stuff like that, they became really good at running these huge data centers, which are very cost effective. And this was in 2003 where they started realizing how good they had become at providing these services. And this is 3 years before AWS was launched to the public. So I think there was an initial realization they didn't quite fully realize what they had. Now, in March of 2006, this is when AWS really started launching services to the public. They created Simple Storage Service. They created Simple Storage Service, or S3. And this is a very cool way to store files up on Amazon. And then they created Simple Queue Service in July of 2006. And this is just basically a cloud-based messaging platform. And then in August of 2006, one of our favorites, Elastic Compute Cloud, launched, and this is where you can run VMs up on Amazon. And at this time in 2006, the term infrastructure as a service did not even exist. Now, in August of 2008, Elastic Block Store was launched. This is a very key component. This basically gave your Amazon instances the ability to do network storage. So you had like a network file server where your instances could store permanent data, and you could bring up your VMs and reconnect to the storage. So kind of a big deal for the cloud computing environment. And then in 2009, roughly a year later, Amazon RDS launched. And this is where you have managed relational databases. So a lot of the popular open source databases, as well as Microsoft and Oracle, are available under Amazon RDS. And this is a real nice feature where you just provision a database server through a web console, and Amazon creates all the infrastructure, and Amazon is going to manage that database. So you're going to see an example of this in the course later. So we'll create a MySQL database through the Amazon web console. We're not installing MySQL. We're not backing up MySQL. We're not maintaining MySQL. That is all done by Amazon as a service for us. All we got to do is set it up, run it, and connect to it. Today, AWS has evolved into the most robust offering of any of the cloud infrastructure services out there. AWS has over 2,000 services and features. No way I can get into them. This is just a very high level deck to get you aware of what AWS is. In 2017, AWS is expected to have $13 billion in revenue. So AWS has become a huge component of Amazon sales. Now, to give you an idea, it is global. They started off in just North Virginia. You can see there in the center of America. And these are regions that they've gone around worldwide. So Amazon AWS has grown to be a worldwide cloud infrastructure service. At this point, there's no other competitors to this size and scope of Amazon. Now, coming up in this course, what we are going to be using specifically is EC2, the Elastic Compute Service. We're going to stand up some virtual machines on that. So we'll select a type and we'll run an Amazon AMI on it. And then we're also going to use Amazon RDS, so the Relational Database Service. So we are going to stand up a managed instance of MySQL. And then I am going to route a subdomain off my domain, show you how to set that up. And we're going to use Amazon Route 53. So this is the DNS service. And this is something also that I use for my own personal website. So my web registrar is GoDaddy, but I tell GoDaddy in my domain settings to use Amazon's Route 53 DNS services. So when you go to look up my website, it's an Amazon DNS server that's responding back to the IP address that's associated with my domain. Now, if you want to follow along in this course, now AWS does have a free tier. Right now, EC2 is included for 750 hours per month of a T2 micro instance. So that's a small instance, but it gives us plenty to work with. And then RDS is also included in the free tier. Now, the free tier has been evolving. They have maintained the 750 hours per month or your first 12 months after signing up with Amazon. They've had that policy for quite some time, so I don't see that changing, but this could change at any time. I highly recommend going out to this URL here, aws.amazon.com/free for details. There's actually a number of things that you can get for free in the free tier. But for the purposes of the remainder of this course, what we're going to need is EC2 and RDS to get things set up and working. So, and you'll be able to utilize that under the free tier of Amazon AWS.